Hey, so I believe you've always heard these stories that the country is in debt and that development is being affected by our huge debt. See, I'm 36 right now. I was born knowing the country is in debt. Okay, let me tell you a story about how Zimbabwe borrowed money like a university student and graduated into a lifetime of repayments. Not even with a cap and gown, just a repayment schedule and stress. If Zimbabwe's finance minister was to open the country's bank application today, it will look like it's under witness protection. Zimbabwe owes about 23.4 billion US dollars. And before you say, bro, that's government business, relax. This debt is hiding inside your fuel prices, your school fees, your hospital queues, and your WhatsApp bundles. You don't see the debt, but you feel it every single day. Like, hey, it's just invisible, but if it's bad, you will definitely click off. Okay, let me marinate you a little bit. By the way, if you're new here, we do decode complex topics and post weekly and daily updates on what's happening within the country. Please just consider coming back. So, Zimbabwe has two types of debts, the foreign debt and the domestic debt. Foreign debt is about $13.6 billion. That's money owed to other countries and big institutions like the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank, which is basically the bank for countries. Domestic debt is about $9.8 billion. That's money owed to Zimbabweans, like local banks, pensioners, contractors, farmers, schools, hospitals. So, Zimbabwe owes outside and its own people, turning love to be a national policy. Now, let's talk history because this debt didn't just fall from the sky. After independence in 1980, Zimbabwe went into a full construction mode. Roads, dams, power stations, factories, irrigation schemes. The country borrowed heavily from Western countries under a group called the Paris Club, which had countries like Germany, France, the UK, Japan, the US, and others. By the 1990s, Zimbabwe had borrowed billions of dollars from these countries for projects designed by the IMF and the World Bank. You see the way you spend money from a credit card the first time you get it thinking it's free money? Okay, sorry, I forgot. Some of you don't even know what's a credit card, but don't worry. The idea was simple. Borrow now, grow the economy, and pay later. It was like celebrating profits before the business even opened, like taking a student loan and believing you will become a CEO. Initially, things went well, repayments being done as promised. Then 2000 happened. Zimbabwe stopped paying its loans and arrears started piling from the same countries and institutions. Land reform and political conflict with Western governments and international sanctions crashed the relationship. Lenders said, oh, no more loans. Zimbabwe said, fine, we'll find new friends. That's when interest and penalties started multiplying. Today, almost 98% of that old foreign debt is overdue. Penalties alone, meaning Zimbabwe was locked out of cheap global money. It's like being banned from a club but still charged for breaking the furniture. You can enter, but the bill still comes. As of today, Zimbabwe owes the World Bank about 1.6 billion, African Development Bank 768 million, Germany 1.5 billion, France 877 million, the UK about 472 million, Japan 370, and the US 333 million. This amount largely being as interest added for not paying on time. So yes, these are mostly old loans from the 1980s and 1990s. Most of you here never voted for them, never signed for them. Some of you were still learning how to even write your own names, but you are now paying for them through high prices and low services. That's ancestor debt. You inherited like family land, except this one produces bills instead of maize. Ndimika maimbonzi ita baba avapo, now baba havasisipo makunzi chitipayo mari yedu. That's what happens when you ignore calls for 25 years. And to ease out of the pressure, Zimbabwe adopted the Look East policy, meaning it turned away from Western lenders and started borrowing mainly from China through the non-Paris Club bilateral creditors. That's season 2 of the debt story. Zimbabwe also owes countries in this non-Paris club almost 2.3 billion, China being owed 2.1 of that 2.3, excluding grants and donations, with India 92 million, Zambia 57 million. Yes, Baba, we even owe Zambia. Victoria Falls over Zvavarana. And South Africa is owed by Zimbabwe for $24 million. The light sum from China was put into Wange Power Station Units 7 and 8 that costed about $998 million. The Victoria Falls Airport expansion, Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport upgrades, the Kariba Hydropower project. These are Chinese loans. So, just know it's Chinese debt doing its shift. These loans are tied to repayment agreements over time, of course, meaning Zimbabwe must service them regularly. Now, let's talk about the domestic debt, the one that punches you directly in the chest. First is the $3.2 billion owed to former commercial farmers as compensation for land reform under the Global Compensation Deed. You took land from them and promised to pay them for the development they had done to the land before you took it from them. Then about $5.3 billion is owed to local banks through the Treasury bill. That means when the government needs money, it also goes to local banks and say, hey, lend us money, we'll pay with interest. Or they're given government bonds to hold as collateral. Banks agree because government paper is considered safe, but that money is your savings and your salary deposits. Then about $1.7 billion is owed to service providers. Hospitals treated patients but were not paid. Schools ran programs but were not paid. Pension funds were used but were not fully restored. When hospitals lack drugs right now, just know it's not a mystery. It's just unpaid obligations by the government. And government revenues in recent years have been roughly around $6 to $7 billion annually, mainly coming from taxes, mining exports like gold and lithium, agriculture like tobacco, depending on collections and commodity prices that year. But here's the thing, in 2026 alone, Zimbabwe must pay about $750 million just in debt repayments. That's a significant chunk of annual revenue. That money could build clinics, but instead it services old loans. It's like working the whole year and the portion of your salary is already committed before you even see it. No upgrade, no progress, just obligations. However, Zimbabwe is also owed millions by other countries like the DRC, Mozambique, and Namibia. But basic accounting says, no, count what you owe. What you're owed is just luxury. So right now, Zimbabwe is fighting to get back into the global system. The IMF is offering a staff-monitored program, which is like an academic probation. Like they're saying, show us discipline, stop overspending, eat what you kill, and we'll talk about helping you. The government wants this because it unlocks billions in support. Creditors want it because they want their money back, and the citizens want it because inflation is tired of being the main character. Show policy consistency, no discipline, no bailout. And this is where you come in. Public participation matters. Voting and speaking up decides who negotiates these deals and how transparent they are. Debt signed today becomes your bill tomorrow. Ignore it and you inherit quietly. Question it and you might influence how it's managed. Debt is invisible until it becomes pain. You don't see it, but you feel it when fuel goes up, when schools struggle, when clinics run dry. Zimbabwe's debt is not just numbers, it's years of future money already spent. Every dollar sent to Germany, China, or the World Bank is a dollar not sent to another classroom or to another clinic.